So we had the astrology reading. My best friend Nicole gifted me an astrology reading, and I thought that she was a little crazy. I'm a non-believer, at least I was then. Total cynic. My dad went to MIT, facts and logic. I was raised in science and logic. She knew that I had almost drowned when I was 5. She knew that my father was dying. She gave me hope and a lot of comfort that he would be in a better place. And I said, what about that guy I just broke up with, that handsome French guy? Then she said, he's in line with your point of destiny. He's your soulmate. And I thought, what? And then my sister called me and she said, Dad has 2 weeks left to live. I totally broke down. I fell onto the floor. Then I had this epiphany. All I had to do was I needed to find every other man who was born on November 2nd, 1968, which was Philippe's birthday, because they would have the same or similar birth chart. And then I got out of checkmate with the whole soulmate
Sounds
thing.
very MIT logical rational.
Totally. Yeah, kind of. We had a really beautiful conversation by his bedside. And so I was like, Dad, I met with an astrologer. And I'm gonna go to Paris. I'm gonna track down every man I can that was born on the same birthday. And he's sitting here and the oxygen tanks are like, he said, it sounds like you're going to Paris. I'll meet you there.
Oh, God.
He died about a week later. And then I just went down. I knew nothing about grief. It was so windy. And half the sky was filled with a big, dark gray cloud. But I think I was in so much shock that I didn't know it was different. It became apparent very quickly that it was time to go. Finding out was really hard because you hold hope that it's still there. Maybe mine is the one house they didn't get. But no, all of the village, almost every house in the Alphabet Streets, which is where we lived, were gone. So we lost everything.
I can see that it's still just right beneath the surface for you, even just as you retell it.
The most traumatic thing I've ever experienced in my lifetime, or been close to.
So many people project their idea of what grief is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to unfold. As part of your grief, when I was reading your book, I thought was so you, but also so beautiful, was this idea of the sparkly skirt. In my mind, it was about wanting to celebrate my father's spirit as much as grieve the loss of him in my physical life.
Yeah. There was a celebrate, there was also putting a middle finger up to the universe. That kind of like, fuck you trying to tell me that I need to be sad right now and wear black. What if I want to wear a sequin skirt? What if I want to celebrate my dad? What if I want to do a dance off at his bedside when he's, about to die? And there can be joy and levity in these deeply dark places. For his celebration of life, I just wanted to wear this rainbow sequin skirt. I felt like if I wore black, I lost. It doesn't make sense.
Lost what? Okay, so I'm super excited to have my next guest, Natasha Sizlo, author, All Signs Point to Paris, and grief guide. I have been sort of fangirling her for a long time. We've been friends, but from a distance, and then sort of more recently, sort of connecting more as she's gone through her process of becoming a grief guide and from her own experience of dealing with a lot of grief over the last 6 years.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
I love you, and I'm honored to be here.
Thank
truly.
you.
Very honored to be here.
Thank
I
you.
just adore you, and I'm grateful that you have been able to bear witness to the last 15 or so years of my life, and in particular the last 5.
Do you remember the first time that we met?
I remember it vividly, yeah.
Do you remember where we were?
We were in the Palisades.
Yeah, at Penelope's house.
Yep.
Who's in your book?
Who is in my book.
Yeah.
You met me in Paris. Yes.
Yes. I just remember you, and you were there with your partner, and I remember thinking like, well, hey, she's stunning, but you just look like you're having just the time of your lives, and you just look so fun. And I just thought, God, she's kind of like an it girl, especially in LA. Like I was like, she's kind of an it girl. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not an it girl.
Yeah.
No, I remember meeting you and thinking you were like insanely smart, and I was just nervous that you were gonna like see right through me. And I don't know if I was ready for it.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready for it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
I know. That's so funny that people think that. But yeah, you do feel things. You do pick things up. But I was just in awe of just like how beautiful you are and kind, but also you just seem like a really fun person. And then getting to know you more over the years and hearing some of the stories, including how you've handled some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. I think more than anything I've been more impressed with is your vulnerability, being brave. I sometimes think to myself, maybe I need to be a little bit more like her in that way.
I think you are vulnerable. I think you are open and joyful and fun and all those things. I don't see us as being different.
Well, I think you just did it on a very loud stage.
Oh, yeah.
And I think-
Oh, that like tracking down my soulmate thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it goes back to like that fear of like a woman who women want love, but like if you're not in love, you don't have a partner, you're sad. There's something very sad about you, and then to go out seeking that so
Publicly.
Thank you.
I was very public
on a global stage, I would say.
Yeah.
So I've read her book, All Signs Point to Paris. It's about love, loss, grief. It's about tracking down her soulmate from an astrology reading after losing her father. It's a wild ride. It's endearing. It's heartfelt. It's vulnerable. And I fell in love. I already was in love with her, but I fell even more in love with her. And I think you will too. I will just say, as a clinician, you get to see people's growth, right? And I've observed from it more of a distance, like sort of we've been in and out of each other's lives in various ways, mutual friends and whatnot, running into each other. But I've been able to see from a distance your own sort of shift. I've seen a shift coming into a different space. And I feel from my perception, it's a space of more of like connectedness to self. But I don't know what that's like for you. And but that's kind of what I've sort of seen in the last probably like 5-ish years. And I don't know if it has anything to do with this, but I also know you've had an insurmountable amount of various forms of grief. We can go into the different ways of what that looks like and how that has potentially transformed sort of where you're at now in your life. But I'm curious about some of the different ways that grief has manifested in your life over the last, like, well, maybe since starting with your father's passing or even before that, divorce.
Yeah. So to talk about some of the grief and loss, at least in the adult part of my life, because now you look back and you're like, oh, that was when I was, it's always happening. Mm-hmm. Had a very difficult divorce, which most divorces I imagine are difficult. It was the kind where we short sold the house, I filed bankruptcy, moved into a little shoebox apartment with 2 kids, single parented, dog died. Like everything that could happen, everything just kind of collapsed. My business that I had collapsed. I had to rebuild, kind of fake it till I make it, and built a new career and was just trying to get on my feet, living in LA and just trying to kind of pretend.
Yeah, which happens a lot in LA.
Yeah, you kind of have to walk around and look like you've got everything together, and there's a dumpster fire on fire behind you. You're like, oh, don't look at that. And and kind of weathered that. And then I fell in love with a very handsome, charming Frenchman who you know and met, and really thought that was my second chance at love. And it was love, but we just couldn't put the pieces together, and it was a bit of a mess. And so when I ended that, I was heartbroken because I knew I had to end it, but it was still very painful and very difficult to do that. It was it was a relationship that went on for a little while too, so it was, those things are harder. And just about at that time, my dad had been diagnosed with a terminal illness with pulmonary fibrosis. I'm from Santa Barbara, so it was not far from where we're sitting right here, which is actually quite beautiful to be sitting here with you, because even driving here and just thinking about him and the time that we shared together, in his very full life and also at the end of his life, is very meaningful for me to be here today. So yeah, it was kind of, the hits just kept coming. My dad passed away almost 7 years ago in 2018. And at that time, our mutual friend, Nicole, my best friend, who's very into all the different methods of spirituality, gifted me an astrology reading, and I was a total cynic at that time. And I decided to say yes, because I think I was so gutted that my dad had 4 months left to live. And I went to see an astrologer, and that kind of changed a lot of things that happened in my life, and that's kind of where the change started happening. So yeah, it does look from the outside, and that's been a hard thing about sharing my story, because I wrote a memoir about my dad passing and the year after. I have been raised to fake it till I make it in LA, and it's it does look like, but by the way, this was all gifted to me after the fires, because I also lost my house in the fires. So life's funny. It's so quick to judge from the outside, and I do it too. But I have definitely struggled in my lifetime.
Yeah. Dude, there's a beautiful butterfly that, or a moth. I'm not sure which,
a
but
moth?
we're gonna. It's
Like a
pretty.
moth to a flame. Oh,
Did not survive.
Shall we talk about death now? Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, that was apropos. Moving on. Speaking of death, your dad.
My dad.
And I have to tell you that I relate so much to that because I just lost my mom, as you know, just this year. Yeah. And in different but similar fashion, in that your dad, when I was reading your book, which I had not realized, had prepared for his death. And the similarity in that for me is my mom took agency and chose to stop dialysis. Yeah. In that process, it gave me time to process and sit with her and grieve in advance of the actual passing and accepting that this was happening. Right. So I really, in some ways, connected to how you were looking at losing your father. But can you take us back to that time and what was going on and how you and your family handled that?
Yeah. My dad was on hospice. And he was really scared and didn't want to be in pain. Pulmonary fibrosis is a difficult disease, and he was on oxygen and having a hard time breathing. And so he looked into aid in dying, and he got the prescription. It's a really thorough process.
And it's legal here in the state of California.
Yeah, it's legal in, I think, 7 states right now. And so he wanted to really die on his own terms. I mean, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when, and he really did not want to suffer because it's a very painful disease. So he had the bottle of the medication that they give you by his bedside, and 2 weeks before he passed, he called a family meeting, and he wanted to discuss the way that he wanted to die, which is beautiful, to have agency in your life and to be able to have that right. I'm a big supporter of this because I think it really gave him a lot of agency, and he didn't end up using it. He ended up going naturally, but
it takes courage. And I mean, I look at my mom and I'm
courage,
like,
man, all
damn.
All of it takes courage, a lot of courage. Yeah.
And then to have that conversation with your children.
Yeah.
And that's a very fucking adult conversation to have with your children.
Yeah, it was. So I had the astrology reading. My best friend Nicole gifted me an astrology reading, and I thought that she was a little crazy, but I really had hit my bottom. And so I said yes. And I'm a non-believer, at least I was then. Total cynic. My dad went to MIT, facts and logic. I was raised in science and logic and no spirituality, no religion. And within 5 minutes, I was blown away by this astrologer. She knew things that defied knowing. She wasn't weird. She was very heartfelt, and she knew that I had almost drowned when I was 5. She knew that my father was dying. She knew...
Too much detail for it to be...
Too much detail. Woo-woo. And she gave me hope and a lot of comfort that he would be in a better place and that he was a happy spirit and he was actually quite funny. And so it kind of really lifted me out of that dark place for a moment. And she said at the end of the reading, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "What about that guy I just broke up with, that handsome French guy?" And she said, "Let me look it up." And it was kind of an elaborate process. And then she said, "He's in line with your point of destiny. He's your soulmate." And I thought, oh, what?
Yeah.
Like, not that guy.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for confirmation that I left him. It was, the right thing to do. And then my sister called me. And she said, "Dad has 2 weeks left to live, and he wants to call a family meeting." I took a shower. I totally broke down. I fell onto the floor. And then I had this epiphany, which was all I had to do with the soulmate part of it was I needed to find every other man who was born on November 2nd, 1968, which was Philippe's birthday, my French handsome ex-lover's birthday, because they would have the same or similar birth chart. And then I got out of checkmate with the whole soulmate
Sounds
thing.
very MIT logical rational.
Totally. Yeah, kind of. So then she called, she's like, "Okay, we got to go have this meeting." He was trying to choose the song that he wanted to play while he was drinking his medicine, dying, and it was Bette Midler. And we were just like, what is going on? I mean, by the way, so this is me. I was in shock, but also my sister and I have always kind of made it through those moments with a little bit of levity and humor. It's just like, Dad is insisting on playing Bette Midler, you better get up here. And I was like, okay, I'm on my way. And my dad was trying to decide whether he wanted to take the medicine, do aid in dying, or if he wanted to die naturally. And we had a really beautiful conversation by his bedside. And he started crying because my dad and my mom, They had been married for 56 years, and he had promised that he would always take care of her. And I think he felt like he was failing her.
Yeah.
You know, we listened to him. I'd never seen my dad cry. And we listened to him and comforted him and told him he'd been a great father and had that moment. And then my sister turned to me and she said, you got to lighten things up. Like, please. Like, I was always that person in our sister relationship. I was the comic relief. And so I was like, Dad, I met with an astrologer. And I'm going to go to Paris. I'm going to track down every man I can that was born on the same birthday because the astrologer and this and that and da, da, da. And he's sitting here and the oxygen tanks are like, you know, and it's like the room is silent. And I thought I was going to give him a heart attack. I thought, oh, forget pulmonary fibrosis. Like, this poor man, he's going to die and he's going to think I lost my mind. And like, and he said, it sounds like you're going to Paris. I'll meet you there.
Oh, God. I just have chills just even hearing that.
Yeah, it was actually the most beautiful gift anybody's ever given me. And I didn't know it at the time because it lifted me out of such a dark place. And my sister in the moment said, your spirit's going to go to Paris to meet, I mean, this is his deathbed. I mean, there was no going back. Oh, he's such a beautiful man. I love my dad so much. And then it was light. All of a sudden we were telling stories about all the crazy things we had done for love. The crazy things he did in like wooing my mom, and my sister was telling her stories, and we all made a pact to meet in Paris after he died. I mean, who does that? And then we had a dance off because ain't nobody gonna die today because he wasn't gonna take the medicine. Like, it made perfect sense to us, but we were like, the hospice nurse started dancing. Like, it was really beautiful. Yeah. It was weirdly beautiful.
Yeah.
And that was really one of the last conversations I had with him. He died about a week later, and then I just went down, and so did my sister. It was really, really, really hard. It was awful. I didn't really know about grief. I knew nothing about grief, and I didn't know that there was a community, that there was support, there were tools. That I didn't know anything, and so I just collapsed. But I had to keep going because I had 2 little kids at home. And so I kind of found my way and spent a year grieving him in a very different kind of way. But that was my grief journey, was to actually do that, to track down as many men as I could find with that specific birthday, and to go to Paris with my sister and my best friends to meet my father's spirit. And that's what we did.
Yeah, and so your book, you know, it walks us through the first part that you just shared with us around your dad's passing and the impact that had in your life, and you know, in the trials and tribulations that come up while you're in Paris searching for the one, maybe we'll call it, or soulmates. Right?
I know.
Can you just share a little bit of you in reflection about that side of the journey, that part of writing the book?
I started writing about it on Instagram.
Okay.
So when I decided that I was really serious about this, and my sister almost lost her mind because we're opposites, and she thought it was a very dangerous, bad idea, and I thought it would be so easy. I could just look up Facebook, but it wasn't. So I was doing targeted advertising. I had a Tinder account. I had T-shirts. I had people putting up posters all over Paris. Like, people were volunteering to help me, and my Instagram account was growing, and not because I was like trying to be like an influencer or do something like that. You
were trying to find love.
I was trying to find love, and I was really just sharing it with like my girlfriend. It ended up growing.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I think I really needed to talk about my grief and my father. And it wasn't just the grief of my father. It was the grief of my relationship with Philippe, my relationship with my ex-husband, with my identity, with giving up, you know, changing careers and being a single. There was a lot. I needed an outlet for it, but I just didn't know how to do it. So I would, in little tiny bursts, like write about it on social media. And that's kind of how this world was built. And then I went to Paris and went on this adventure and went on a bunch of like kind of crazy dates and brought my sister and my best friends along. And it was very healing. And I do believe definitely Bob was there.
Bob was your dad.
Bob was my dad, yeah. And for me, it was a return to something that I had done in my youth, and in my dream as a child was to be a writer. And I had given that up 25 years before that. I was a magazine editor, and I went to film school. I studied screenwriting, and I always just wanted to write. The magazine I was editor at folded, like many did, and I just gave up on that dream. And this kind of cracked open something in me that gave me space to find that again. Even though it was in tiny little Instagram snippets, it brought me back to writing again. And it also kind of gave me a path to connect with people when I was too scared to do it in real life, but I could do it somehow through the written word.
Yeah. It's like sharing a page from a diary
Yeah.
that you boldly put out for the world to see, but don't really think that actually anybody's seeing it.
Yeah.
But then someone says something, you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
You're
shit,
like,
they
oh
read
gosh,
that.
I really put that out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've had a few moments of like that in my life.
Yeah. You could like no one's gonna care, you know.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit,
Like,
someone
oh,
commented.
I just really, but what I realized when I was vulnerable and sharing any of that stuff, I was connecting to people who also needed that connection. And I met strangers all across the world, like that I still know to this day from my Instagram account and from Tinder, by the way. Who knew? Like, who knew? But I met some beautiful, I was only doing it in Tinder in Paris. My thing was, if you're born on November 2nd, 1968, swipe left, everybody else swipe right. And then like somebody would, match with me and I'd say, is that your birthday? Oh, no, but what are you doing? And, oh, you can't be serious. But then it became a dialogue and I'm searching for love and I really believe in this and my father and da-da-da-da. And they're like, oh my God, well, keep going. Or people started helping me and I realized there's a lot of people looking for love and there's a lot of people grieving and there's a lot of people looking for connection and community. And there was something in this year of my life where I think after my dad died, I was so heartbroken. And after I kind of failed at love so many times, I was so heartbroken that I wasn't afraid to fail at anything anymore. I was just like, you know what? What's the worst thing that could happen? Will I lose some real estate clients? Yeah, probably. Okay. Maybe they weren't mine to have.
I mean, honestly, from watching it from the outside and from a more of a distant place, because we weren't as good of friends as I would say we are today, I was like, holy cow, this woman is so incredibly vulnerable and like just brave to put yourself out there like that. Because as a society, as women, or at least my experience is that, if you're not with a man by your side, it's pathetic or pitiful.
Yeah.
There's a pity that a person takes on you. And so then to bravely and boldly put out there, like, I want love, because alternatively, there's this idea that like, okay, well, but she's a career girl or a boss babe.
Right.
As if they're bifurcated. Right. But to be able to say, no, I'm not falling apart. I'm not a complete damsel in distress, but like, I do want love and I'm willing to put myself out there vulnerably like that. I was just like, I admired it. I still to this day admire your ability to be so vulnerable. And I completely understand why people were like colluding to support you in the process, because you said something moments ago that was so beautiful. It's like to the idea that people are grieving that they aren't in love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different type of grief.
Yeah. When we were in Paris, I was having like a lot of the dates were going sideways or not showing up or canceling or whatever. And I was feeling like a failure because now all of a sudden there was like an Instagram element in it, which is like, whoa, what am I doing?
Pressure too.
Yeah,
People
I was like, wait, what am I doing? My dad just died. Like, it was so weird. It was such a weird year. So I was in a Facebook group of women in Paris. Somewhere along the line, I joined like a million different places to try to find this person. And I invited all these women. I was like, if the men can't show up, like, this is what I'm doing. I'm here in Paris does anyone want to come and like meet for a drink? And we went to this bar, Le 1905, and it was like dead. And my sister and I were sitting there and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, God, I can't believe we came all the way to Paris and I thought this would work out. And I really thought I would find this like magical story and I really believed in it.
So there's also grief in that.
Yeah.
Right?
But then the room, Jen, you would have died.
It just filled up?
It filled up.
Oh, wow.
It like filled up with women, like a 19-year-old with like a cello. She
chills.
starts playing a cello in the corner and I'm like, oh, we must be in Paris. And yeah, like women, and they just wanted to see what happened. They're like, oh, I divorced or I had this. All these women who had their own stories of searching for love and finding it. And they're like, wait, you're doing this. Is it working? Like, what are you doing? And it was so...
It's like a
out
group.
there and cool. Yeah, it was really cool. The funny thing is, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff today.
Why not?
I don't know. I was in this cracked open space, like where I was just, I think, not self-aware or just didn't care or was like, I was in so much trauma and grief probably at the time and I was just raw and I just didn't care. I kind of wish I could have more of that back. I wish we could all live with a little bit of that freedom. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
It was just so pure. What I was doing that year was so pure. I was just looking for love and grieving my dad. That's it.
it raises an interesting point, grieving in a way that a lot of people would not look at from the outside thinking you were grieving.
Nobody thought that. I kind of wish somebody would be like, oh my God, are you okay?
Uh-huh.
But instead they're like, oh, you're so brave, you're so this, you're
Yeah.
so that. And I'm like, okay, but yes and? Yeah, I was grieving. Such a weird way to grieve, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird, but it was my path.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and it was the year anniversary. For some reason, I thought a year and then it's over and your grief is over. Oh, well, no, that doesn't happen. But I scattered my father's ashes here in Santa Barbara on the water and kind of put everything to bed in many ways, met with my ex and Philippe, and I just that was my year of doing this crazy adventure. And then out of the blue, a literary agent had found my Instagram, and that's how the book came to be.
Okay.
Which was so, I couldn't help but feel like that was divine, spiritual something from, because I always wanted to be a writer. I didn't do this to write a book, but it just came in this weird, beautiful way, and then COVID hit, and so I had nothing else going on, and don't sit still well because I have major ADHD. Mm-hmm. So that's how that book story came.
So tell me about that process of writing about not only the process of writing about seeking love and then boil it for people who haven't read it yet. But maybe not finding it the way you thought you would. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
But also about your reliving your father's passing and that whole process. What was that like?
It was so hard. It was so hard, but there's something that brings you back to that moment where there was so much love too. So as much as I hate the feeling of grief and hard and just that feels like someone is just taking a knife to your stomach, I wouldn't have that if I didn't have so much love for this human being that raised me. And so it was hard, but also made it kind of breathe life back into him in some ways. And I didn't want the book just to be about his death. I don't want my father just to be remembered for him dying in these last moments. And so, I kind of wrote about him and who he was as my father too. I'm so happy I did. Some days I haven't been so happy because I'm like, oh gosh, I can't ever meet anybody without them being like, oh, I read about you, or something weird like that. But I don't know, it changed me, and it helped me make sense of things that I didn't know how to make sense of. For me, writing was a way to work through a lot of the grief that I had and still continue to have and will always have, but I got through the thick of it that way, but it was hard.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it gave you some meaning.
Yeah.
That you were needing.
Yeah, it did. For me, having my sister by my side while going through my father's time in hospice and his death, I don't know what I would have done without my sister. And so I remember even typing that last sentence of my book, which is such a weird thing when, you write that last sentence. And I thought, if somebody can read this, one person who doesn't have a sister or who needs someone to stand by their side or just to know, that they share a similar experience, if it can provide any kind of comfort in any way. For me, that was meaning, The meaning isn't that my dad died so that this book could exist. I wish my dad was here. But I wanted to create meaning and out of my own experience after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so relate. I'm grateful for my sister with my mom's passing, so I completely understand that the amount of care that she was able to contribute in her family to my mom's passing in the ways that maybe I couldn't because I was so far away, but try to show up in the ways that you can, when you have a parent or someone that you love that's close to you and you want to be there for and take care of and that you're going to miss. But as part of your grief, when I was reading your book, I thought was also so you, but also so beautiful, was this idea of the sparkly skirt. And, how do I don't know, what was the sparkly skirt about? In my mind, it was about wanting to celebrate my father's spirit as much as grieve the loss of him in my physical life.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because I think too many people, you read stories like, oh, somebody wouldn't grieve like that if they weren't, at fault for X, Y, and Z, right? I'm like, too many people project their idea of what grief is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to unfold. Including grief often comes out very much like anger
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if you could share with me and everyone a little bit about like that part of you that wanted to also, I'm going to use the word celebrate. I don't know what that word is.
There was a celebrate. There was also putting a middle finger up to the universe. That kind of like, fuck you trying to tell me that I need to be sad right now and wear black and be like, what if I want to wear a sequin skirt? What if I want to celebrate my dad? What if I want to do a dance off at his bedside when he's, about to die? And there can be joy and levity in these deeply dark places. There also can't be. I'm not saying that I can only speak to my own experience. But yes, for his celebration of life, my sister was, I think I had bought and returned like 15 like online black dresses. They were all hanging around my little house. And I just wanted to wear this rainbow sequin skirt. I didn't want to lose the battle. I felt like if I wore black, I lost. But if I was still wearing a rainbow sequin skirt, I hadn't lost. It doesn't make sense.
Lost what?
Me, my spirit, like the light that I know that I had with my dad and my family. And it was so heavy that I just wanted to be like, no, you can't.
Take me under?
You can't take me out. Like, no, I'm going to wear this. My sister didn't let me wear this sparkly skirt. But I kept it and I wore it to...
The older, wiser sister.
Yeah. She's like, no, I don't think it's going to land with like Uncle Tom. It's like, okay, fine. But I was wearing it like in my head, where I was like, okay. And it was a beautiful, beautiful celebration of life, which started, and I had to give a speech and I'm scared of speaking. And it was, a crazy blustery day and I was terrified and the clouds parted and the sun started shining and it was beautiful. And then we danced to like music with my mom and my Scottish relatives and it became beautiful. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is not like putting like pink paint over like a black hat. I mean, there were more bad days than good, but when there was a pinprick of light, I like just tried to focus on that. And when there wasn't, there wasn't, and it was bad. So I don't want to say that every moment is a sparkly skirt
and find the silver lining in every.
Yeah. There's I'm not being toxic positivity here at all.
Yeah.
I've gone through some hard things and sometimes when people say things they don't land the right way, but so I don't want to do the same thing. But for me it was important to see those little pinpricks of light and try to figure out how can I grow that
and not let the grief completely take over.
Yeah.
What were you afraid would happen if the grief took over?
I'd never get back up.
Yeah.
I thought I would never get back up. I mean, it was bad. After he died, I just couldn't get off the couch. I got a Christmas tree and it was like laying on its side. I had friends come in and they found me and they're just like, whoa. I was trying to create magic for my kids while grieving and it's like, it was too hard. So I leaned on community. I found good people and just doing something wildly absurd. And somehow it gave me purpose and it gave me hope and it made me feel like I was honoring this promise I made to my father.
Yeah, connection to your father.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And my sister felt the same way. So I felt like I was taking care of her and she was taking care of me by like going on this adventure while she like was sitting on these dates like with like I swear to God she was ready to like with her backpack ready to like take some
in and
crazy Frenchman down. But she supported me on this wild journey. She knew that this was my grief journey.
Yeah.
And we made it through however we did. It wasn't easy every day, but that's life.
So the book came out what, a year?
2022.
2022, so a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I wrote it during COVID.
Okay. And since then, life hasn't been exactly full of cherries for you. You've continued to pursue love. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
How's that been going?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I can't say it's gone badly because I really believe in like all these beautiful love stories. Some last a day, some last 3 months, some last 10 years, some last 56 years. But yeah, being, 50, I'm not 50 and single and, it's a journey, although it's settled more in me. Like I'm in a really, really good place. But I don't know how to answer that question right now.
So you're sort of in progress with figuring that out, maybe?
Well, I'm not searching like I was like that before.
Okay. Why not?
I think I have too much. That's actually new as of the fires, really.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the fires.
Yes.
You mentioned it earlier, but so tell us about the fires.
On January 7th, my house burned down. Yeah, I was living in the Palisades. I got a call at 11. My sister called me 11 a.m. and said, "Are you home? Do you want me to pick up the dog? I'm going to evacuate." She was in the Palisades, but in the hills, more toward the fort, to the Santa Monica Mountains. And I said, no, I'm home. I'll get him. And I said, "Are you leaving now?" Like, there was no alert system. We all know this now, but there was really no
Infrastructure?
There was nothing. I mean, I was running outside. One neighbor is like, "You don't have time to talk to me. You better pack now. Like, you don't have time to talk to me." And the other one was like, "Can you help me with my cat? Like, do I need to take all my animals? Is this like
Wow.
temporary?" Because we've been evacuated before. And I lived so close to Sunset Boulevard. I lived a block away from Fire Station 69. I just really didn't think, none of us did. And it happened just so fast. I was trying to download apps and figure out, like, what is this Watch Duty app? And, meanwhile, I'm dropping random things in a bag. And, like, I really brought my father's ashes, my grandmother's wedding ring, a sweatsuit for my son, and my computer, and my dog, and dog food, a couple, pairs of clothes to wear. And I brought a board game. I thought I was going to go on a vacation for a couple days with my son. I brought a board game and some books. But we knew it was different. But I think I was in so much shock that I didn't know it was different.
That it was going to be so permanent?
I didn't know it was going to.
How did what do you say you knew? You felt?
You could feel it.
You could feel the eeriness in the air?
It was so windy. You walked outside, it was so windy, and half the sky was filled with like a big, like dark gray, cloud, and the other side was bright blue. So it was very confusing in some ways because it became apparent very quickly that it was time to go. I jumped in my car.
And I've heard that was I don't know about you, but I've heard that was a complete disaster for a lot of people trying to even get in the car and get out.
It was awful. It was awful. I mean, yeah, I got onto Sunset Boulevard and it was really, traffic was thick. I have friends that were living in the Highlands who were pulling palm trees off their cars on fire and like running from it was the most traumatic thing I've ever experienced in my lifetime or been close to. And I'm still trying to make sense of that. It was, listen to those beautiful owls.
I know, aren't they beautiful?
Gosh, you're in heaven here.
I am.
Yeah.
Thank you. The nature.
Yeah. But and then I parked my car and I turned around and I looked back and you could see the fire in the hills. And so I was desperately calling. I knew my sister was still there because I had her on. I knew her location. I was like, just begging her, please get in your car now. Like it was like, and then she wasn't answering her phone, but she was still there and she was still packing up and all of our belongings, that like anything I had left with my dad, everything was either in my house or hers. And everything that I had of my kids was either in my house or Michael's. So it was like that came before me, and that and of course you do those things where you forgot to digitize the things so we lost everything. Yeah, it was hard, and I didn't know where to go.
It's still here. I can see that it's still just right beneath the surface for you, even just as you retell it.
Oh, it's so massive. Everybody I know, it's almost harder now than it was. The shock and the trauma is gone. Our nervous system is, but the world's moved on, and you have to go to work, and you have to just pretend like nothing happened, but you're displaced. And people ask me, "So you're settled now, right? You have everything?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I have like 4 plates, 4 forks, 4 spoons. I have a couch. I've got a bed and a bed frame, and I have, a temporary lease that I won't stand for a long time. But is that settled? Is that home? I don't know."
Even just that day of like, okay, you come back and the house is gone, and it's like, so this is permanent.
Well, that was the thing. One of the hard things was how to find out if your house was gone. So, I mean, I went to a hotel. Somebody had a direct line into the police line or something, and which streets and this and that. We're all trying to, hey, did you hear about Galloway? Did you hear about Hartsel? What about Villa de la Paz? Are the houses gone there? And like, we're just trying to figure out, you're putting pieces of everything. My son watched him and his girlfriend, they were at school, they watched her house burn down on TV. My daughter saw that her dad's house burned down. Margot's like, okay, I guess both my houses are gone. Finding out was really hard because you hold hope that it's still there. Maybe mine is the one house they didn't get, or it's a fire. But no, all of the village, like almost every house in the alphabet streets, which is where we lived, were gone. So my daughter flew home. 2 days later, I think she was just so worried about me. I just shut down, like my whole nervous system shut down. I couldn't drive. I couldn't think straight. I've never had all the things that you read about, like really bad. I got lost on a freeway. I was like, it was because people were, all of a sudden there was an urgency to get clothes. People are giving out clothes. You need clothes. Oh, okay. Like there was so much urgency that people telling you what you need to do and call your insurance and do this. And, you know, have you seen the house? You better go look at the ashes. And like, what if there's something there? People are going to loot it. Go get your stuff. And I'm like, whoa, like give me a second. It was intense. So we Margot and I walked. You couldn't even get there by car. So we parked in Santa Monica. We walked.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? You parked in Santa Monica? For anyone who like doesn't know that, like that's a ways.
Yeah, we walked a really long walk, and we crossed over together. We were walking, and there was this older man, the bridge that goes over PCH.
Yeah.
And there was this man holding this beautiful chinoiserie urn.
Yeah. Oh.
And he was just walking back from his home.
Oh boy.
And Margot just turned to me and she's like, oh my God. I was like, and we walked until we got to the bottom of the Palisades near Chautauqua. Then we took a little like bus or something to the bottom of Temescal. And then they told us we couldn't get up there after walking that far. You're too late. We're not letting anyone else up there today because you had to go with a police escort.
Like a chaperone of sorts.
It was a lot. Yeah. We didn't even know about all the PPE. We were wearing big masks, but not all the other stuff, which later I was in like a hazmat suit and all that stuff. But yeah, we ended up finally getting a ride, and a guy in a truck took us, and the police escort was behind. And, you know, the first they said, you can't get out of the car. And somebody from FEMA had told me, you can. They're going to say you can't get out of the car. You can get out of the car. They can't stop you. And I was like, okay, well, I want to get out of the car and see my home, see if anything is left. So first we went to Margot's home, her dad's home, and then we went to my home. And when we went there, it was so crazy. It was just like a bomb went off.
Wow.
It wasn't like how I pictured it, you know? It was just like a bomb went off. I couldn't even find, I was trying to figure out like, where was my bathroom? It was just weird, very disorienting. And the only thing really that was left were ceramics, like some teacups and a beautiful, I didn't really think it was so beautiful until now it's so beautiful in my life. It was this little garden paver that I bought when my daughter was 3 years old, and she believed in the tooth fairy. I got this little paver for the garden that said slow fairy crossing.
Oh, that is so cute.
And it was there, and she grabbed it and she was like, Mom.
Oh my God.
And we carried that all the way back. We went on it was like miles that we walked. Yeah. And yeah, that's how we saw the house, and that's how everybody did it in some version or another, you know? It was not easy. It was not made to be easy, any of this. You know? But
how is that grief and grieving that you don't have a home to go back to?
Yeah.
You've been blessed to have people donate clothes. Like
yeah.
you're starting your life.
A friend started a GoFundMe for me. I never thought I'd be in that position. I never thought I'd wait in line at FEMA and meet with Habitat for Humanity and, you know, the Buddhist organization and there's so many beautiful people out there, clothing drives. LA came together in a way that was just
non-LA, not your typical LA.
I mean, it was astounding and really beautiful. It was also really stressful because it was a stressful time, but it's funny, you know, it's not just the house and the things, obviously. It's a sense of safety and security. It's our whole community because the Palisades was very much like a very small town in a big town. So, you know, we walked to, you know, the restaurants, and it was just this walk to school. All their schools burned down, the temple that Margot had her bat mitzvah in, my hiking trails, which were my spiritual, my temple. Yeah, and my community. So now my friends are all dispersed throughout the world now. A lot of people just kind of left. Some people are still in LA, but some people just couldn't stay in LA.
Wow.
And yet people say, I'm so happy, at least you're safe. And there's a lot of at least, and that's true. We're safe. There's a lot of crazy things that go on in this world, and if that would have happened in the middle of the night, we wouldn't be here, and we're safe. That said, it's still really hard to grieve, and almost harder to grieve because it's not a person, because it's a very complicated, different thing to grieve than a person.
I was going to ask you exactly that question. Like, how is it different than grieving your father's passing, right? What's that?
I was thinking about that today, actually.
Or even your divorce.
It's very different because that grief was tied to love. This had love in it too, because there were so many things and people. I don't know, Jen. I can't describe it, but it's real and it's powerful. And I think there's a lot of people still suffering, and it's different, but it's still massive.
Does it make any difference that this was a grief that was collective? Is there anything better about that? Anything that makes it harder?
I think both. I think the better about it is there are people who understand that I can reach out to. I can call my sister and I'm like, are you just crying out of nowhere and just breaking down? And like, are you, and she's like, I get it. And like, she understands that specific experience, even though our two experiences are different, right?
Right.
Everybody's experience of going through a natural disaster are gonna be different. So there is a lot of comfort in being able to pick up the phone and have somebody really understand and share something you've gone through. And that, I'm grateful that I have that community and to be able to do that. But there are also hard parts of having that big shared experience. I think because so many people went through it, it kind of, sometimes there's a grief Olympics of like who had it harder. And everybody's grieving differently. And some people are telling the story over and over and over. And that's re-traumatizing sometimes for others. And some people want to talk, some people don't. So it's sometimes it's good to step away from. I isolated a bit too much, probably. I think a lot of us did. Most of my friends are just starting to go out right now. They're just starting to like, it's been 7 months, you know? And it's hard because the world keeps, LA, you wouldn't even know anything happened. And it was closed, you know, and nobody could go in for a really long time. Even a lot of people still haven't gone in and seen what it's like, I think. And now when you go in, the lots have been cleared, so it kind of looks like just a construction zone. I mean, not all of them, and you know, but it's
en masse.
It's not as bad as it was when it was like cars burnt out, and you know, it's really, really raw. It's a little bit more. You can't see how traumatizing it was. But listen, I've had friends that have lost homes in Malibu fires. My parents were here when the fires and floods came through Montecito, and I never knew how hard that was and I still don't know. I mean, what happened here is very different as well.
I know from just watching you and talking with you and seeing you that you've sort of created another community through this process. I don't know if that started with your dad or if it started with the fires, a grief community.
My grief community. I love my grief community. That started actually when I was on book tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I published the book, I didn't really think about it beforehand that people would come up to me and say, oh, me too, I lost my dad too, or he was also in hospice, or oh my God, my heart was broken, I had this horrible divorce, and all these different kinds of grief and questions and connection with people.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh. Some people would ask me advice, and I thought, well, I'm not here to hand out advice. Like I wanted to just make sure I didn't say the wrong thing, and to learn more about grief and about, you know, what is this experience that I went through? Was I grieving? I guess I was, you know, in this wild way, and everybody does it different. And so I got kind of interested in that world, and I met a fellow author. She had also written a memoir, but she was also a grief specialist, and she'd written a memoir followed by 5 books on grief and grieving. Her name's Claire Bidwell Smith. We met at a book event, and we became friends. And she was hosting a training on conscious grieving, which is something she practices and trains people on. And I said, I don't know why I want to go, but can I go? And most of the people who were there were hospice workers or death doulas or just practitioners in the grief space. And she said, yeah, absolutely come. You don't need to know why. And so I went to it, and I met the most incredible people, and I learned so much about this world and how it's not a sad world. It's actually really, they're kind of the coolest people I've ever met.
It can be very beautiful, right?
Oh, it can be so beautiful. Yeah. And I'm sorry, if you surround yourself with Alua Arthur, this amazing death doula, and Claire Bidwell Smith, and Barry Lerner, she does writing therapy. And they're funny, they're bright, they're human, they're not afraid to have deep conversations. Yeah, it really changed my world. And so I got really into my death people. My kids think I'm so odd, but I started going, like I went to Endwell. I listened to a woman named Myra Sachs speak. She lost her daughter, Javi, when she was 2.5 years old in 2021. And she created this movement where she does grief groups with movement. So she's created this foundation called Emotion. They do running, walking, hiking. And so I just have started being the facilitator in Los Angeles who leads grief hikes. And I just met these like great people who helped me also. I mean, especially as soon as my house burned down, they were all calling me like, oh my goodness. And it was something that they didn't even know how to deal with because nobody's had an LA fire blow through like on to that level. Like Malibu's had fires and, we've had fires, but that was a very, very big one.
En masse.
En masse, yeah. And they really showed up for me. And actually one of them is who started my GoFundMe. And I did a grief retreat with Claire and it's really changed the trajectory of my life.
How so?
Well, I realized how powerful what they do is and how I hired a trauma therapist. I realized I really needed, if I wanted to not be completely stuck and in trauma, I needed to do something about it because I felt like I was gonna just not be able to survive it. The fires were really hard. It triggered all the other grief.
Okay, so thank you. So keep going back. So it triggered the other grief, and the realization came from because what was showing up, or what were the symptoms that you were like, whoa, I'm about to.
Oh my gosh, anxiety like I've never experienced before. Panic attacks, brain fog, like couldn't think straight, couldn't multitask, couldn't almost speak sometimes. Like. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So a friend introduced me to a fabulous, she's also an author, that I was on a panel with. We didn't know each other, so that's why I felt safe working with her. Her name's Gina Moffat. She took me on as a client and started giving me kind of the tools. And so instead of just writing, because writing has always been like a way for me to grieve, I started moving. I started
using your body.
Using my body. I did everything. You name it, I did it. Just trying all the different modalities. And she said to me at one point, you should try forest bathing. Because I was up in Big Sur for a few days. And I was like, what is that? And she told me like the basics of it. But I got really nerdy about it because I wanted to understand what it was and where it came from. And I love forests and trees. I would go on hikes every day when I lived in the Palisades. So it was just natural for me to be in nature every day. And whether it was a hike or a walk, or I wrote my book actually while I was on trails. I would just kind of sit out there, or I'd have a moment. That was the first time I connected to my father's spirit, was in nature. And when I lost my home, I moved to an apartment building that literally like hangs over the 405.
Oh
it's
my gosh.
all cement. Like even the trees I think they're all plastic. I mean, but it's okay. We're safe. We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
I get it. I get it.
I have a home.
But I moved out of LA to like.
It's not this.
Yeah,
it is not.
And nature really has healed me in a way that I have done a lot of my own talk therapy around my own stuff, and I can tell you without a doubt, moving out of the hustle of Los Angeles and the impact that even living in Los Angeles will do to you, and then moving to nature and space and peace and owls and
game changer.
Yeah, I've just even started shedding layers that I didn't realize my body was still holding on to.
Yeah.
So I get that. I really get that.
Yeah. And I didn't know how important nature was to me until it was taken away from me. And I think that's why I felt so dysregulated, so disconnected from everything. I felt so foreign in my own body. And so I got real into this concept of forest bathing or forest therapy. I looked it up. It's, and started studying it. And so, it's based on a practice that was invented in Japan in the 1980s called Shinrin-yoku. And during the tech boom, when all of the people were moving from the outer city to the inner city, and they were getting sick, and it became a prescription there to go to the forest, basically. And there's, I just got really fascinated by the physical. The trees release chemicals that, I could go deep into this, but so I started a certification, the process for being a forest therapist. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like? if you are incorporating, let's say you're hosting a retreat as a
forest
grief
therapy
guide.
Yeah.
I kind of want to call you a grief chief too, by the way. I don't know why that keeps coming to me,
that.
but
Yeah.
but grief guide and
Yeah.
incorporating forest. But like, what would even that look like? Because I'm, I'm a clinician, and I'm huge on incorporating alternative modalities as part of releasing, where
Right.
just talk won't do.
Right.
Right. And so I'm curious about, what would that even look like for someone if they were to call you up and like, hey, I'm going through some stuff. Can you help me?
Yeah. Well, I'm being trained in a certain way, and then I'm going to be incorporating my own way to it.
Okay.
So the way that I would probably, take you on like a guided forest therapy journey or whatever, it doesn't need to be deep in a forest and remote. It can actually be anywhere, which was something I didn't know. I thought I had to go to Big Sur or I had to go to Alaska, which I just got back from, but it can actually be in LA. It can be anything. And it's really like it can be an hour and a half, but it's really a 3-hour practice where you go and I kind of give you an invitation. It's kind of like a meditation. It's almost like a walking meditation. It's not like a hike. There's no destination. It's a way to still your body and mind, to open your senses, and to take your 5 senses and to really kind of be in the moment and take in. It doesn't make sense because it sounds like it's nothing, but it's actually something so powerful.
It sounds like slowing down.
Yeah.
Bringing people into the awareness of their, not only their senses, but their sensations that's happening in those moments.
Yeah. So I'm a guide, but I'm not the therapist. The forest is the therapist.
Ooh, I love that.
So this is how this works. The forest is the healer, not me. And so it's a way for us, it's kind of a remembering. We come from the forest,
Nature.
we come from nature, we are nature, but we live in this world where we're really separated from it.
For sure.
It's like, I need to go to
Especially
nature.
this world.
Well, you're in nature. We are nature.
Yeah.
So it's a way of like reconnecting with our truth and our origins, kind of. It's a way of like coming home.
our relations, right?
Yeah, and having like a mutual respect for, it's not about learning about the plants or that kind of stuff. It's actually about easing into this place and connecting, like really connecting with a tree. I found it like incredibly powerful. And then for me, as a writer, I think I would, like to bring in, like if you're a writer, you find
Narrative
that-
therapy.
Yeah, narrative therapy.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned in my grief work, or even in my grieving, there's really nothing to fix. It's just being present and just holding space for someone. And the forest can hold space better than anybody. There's something about just being still, not being on your phone and not like trying to get to the waterfall, and really just being still and present. It can hold that.
I mean, listen, you're singing the praises to the choir over here, because I've got a mountain over here and the ocean over there, which I'm so blessed for. And I've long felt like when I'm in the mountains or near the mountains, that's where I feel safest to be, because I feel like they can hold me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we were both very strong women.
Yeah.
So I love the ocean, but a mountain feels like I can be held by it.
Yeah.
And because mountains to me signify or symbolize strength that's far more reaching than I have.
Yeah.
And I don't always feel that way with a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I am that strength for a lot of people,
Right.
to be candid, right?
Right.
Including other strong women,
Right.
including strong men.
Right.
And I hold that space for them, and it doesn't always feel like I have the space for that for me. And mountains represent that for me quite a bit.
That's right. Yeah.
So I know for me as a clinician, and though I'm not there for me with my clients, I feel like it's such a gift to be on their journey with them.
Yeah.
In some ways, I find that that's healing.
Yeah.
Even when my mom was passing, to be taken out of that
Yeah.
and be able to be like, I gotta go take some clients and deal with what they're experiencing,
Yeah.
gave me a bit of a break,
Yeah.
a little bit, but
Yeah.
also gave me hope.
Right.
And so I'm curious for you in your process in building your community
Yeah.
and in becoming a a grief chief. How has that been for you? And have you found any of your own healing in that process?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it, is that there is healing to be found in helping others. And in helping others, especially in that space that you've experienced, right? Because I'm only human too, and wanting to connect and have stories, and I'm flawed, and I am still have a lot of healing to do. It's absolutely very healing. I've never really thought about it though. It's so nice that I guess I've thought about it but not spoke it out loud. But yeah, it's perhaps completely selfish because it does feel good to help people. And that's probably why we should all be doing it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, look, AA, right? Like, because I specialize in drug and alcohol treatment and believe firmly in AA in so many ways. And I mean, that's one of the first things that they tell people to do is to be of service. Get out of your own need and be of service. And it's through that process that you begin to, like, there's more here for me that's, than just myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it would make perfect sense if there was a connection to you around that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. When I first went to get certified, I actually didn't realize, like, everybody had such an intense grief story. So they were really all there for some kind of healing and also growing whatever practice they were in, whether they were hospice nurses or death doulas or whatever. But I think that it is intertwined. It can't not be.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, most people who go into some sort of healing career are going into it, unless, like, dad was a doctor. So, unless there's that pressure. But most of us are healers who are looking to heal ourselves too. Right? And hopefully most of us have done that work before we multiple steps ahead of the people that we're helping. That's usually where it comes from. Like, when I see someone in my practice who's gone through something that's similar or close to that I have experienced, I'm like, I don't project, but I connect to it. I almost embody it. I'm like, I can feel it emanate from them, and I can hold it because I've been in it.
Yeah.
So I can do that even if I haven't gone through it.
Yeah.
But as a clinician, I connect around the larger feeling.
Yeah.
Loss, grief, despair, struggle, loneliness. Loneliness is a huge one, right? So even if, like, I work with someone who's, using drugs and alcohol in a way that's out of control for them, I'm not an addict. I don't know what it's like to need my Coke or my meth at 2:00 in the morning and be willing to drive down to, Watts to get it when you're coming from the Palisades, like some of my clients have had in the past, right? But I know what it feels like to be so alone and feel so at your depths of despair that you are willing to try almost anything to just not have to feel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that I can connect to. And I think that's the gift that we give people, and being along that journey with them.
Right.
And in that way, it's also healing for us.
Right. I just want to share what's worked for me. A lot of lived experience now with loss and grief. And I seem to have somehow surrounded myself with a lot of very smart people who have a lot to offer me. And so doing some collaborations with them in terms of doing retreats. I have this group in Los Angeles that I lead. I do work one-on-one, just to be a grief companion. It doesn't have to be just to sit with someone, just to help navigate, next steps after loss. And I'm not talking about just the loss of a person. It can be all the different things that we've gone through. Yeah. So, that's where I am right now, and, empty nesting and seeing what the next chapter is going to be.
I'm excited for you because I can see where you are. Like, I don't know, when I say I see where you are, I don't mean like, oh, what's next? I'm not clairvoyant. I just can feel where you are in your state of consciousness.
I've never been so excited about something, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah. I know it's like the right place for me to be. It's a really good feeling when that happens. I've only been in flow a couple times in life, and that feeling where you're just like, ooh, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Oh, I get that.
I know you're in it.
That was me becoming a therapist. I was like, oh, get it.
Yeah.
It was hard work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To start over.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you've had several careers. And
I have started over several times, but they've
It's-
all led me to this exact, so it's really kind of wild.
It's
you
coming
know?
back to yourself.
Yeah.
But you needed these experiences, as hard and challenging as they have been, and still continue to unfold in a way that can be painful, in order to be able to share that
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah, and it's not like heavy, like dark and gloomy. Like, this is a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wait, so tell me about the good time of grief.
I mean, there's a lot of good time in grief. I mean, I guess, does that sound weird? I've never laughed so hard as I have with like my grief people. They're a wacky little bunch. They really are, because I think you can't take life that seriously when you really understand how fragile it is and how like much, I don't know. There's a lot of, there's a lot of joy in all these. There's a lot of tears too, by the way. You know, I was crying when I saw those whales, and I was just remembering my father and how much I wish he could have been fishing with me. I mean, it's such a basic thing, but like my father loved fishing, and I was like, oh God, I miss you, Bob Sizlo. But it's also, there's wacky, funny. I mean, I don't know. Life is meant to be lived, and my father, I know, you know, he would want me to be living my life fully. As your mom, I think, would probably not want us to let, you know, sink us. So, you know, if I can be that person that can help somebody else lift up, probably.
Has it changed your relationship to your own death?
Yes, it has.
How so?
I think it's that, exactly, to live more fully, to be more present with my children. I think to communicate about how I want the end of my life to be. I haven't done my advance directive yet. That's literally on my list of things to do right now.
I get that.
Yeah, because I don't want to put too much burden on my children.
For sure.
And I mean, if everybody could go out and do their advance directive, I think that's like, do it. Yeah, it's absolutely changed. And it's shown me that death, you can live a full life up until in your death. And, you know, try to look at it straight in the eye and not run from it.
And to talk about it with the people that
I
are...
love talking about
right?
death.
Yeah, I'm like, woohoo, what a party. You want to come over and talk about death? Can you imagine?
My friends think I'm so weird. Well, some of them love it. Some of them are like, oh, we don't know.
Yeah, like, what are we going to talk about today? Death again? Can you imagine?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Oh my God. I can see how people are like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Natasha wants to talk about death again tonight. But I feel you. I mean, like, talking about it, for me at this phase, makes it less scary, and certainly, hopefully, helps other people embrace it more when that time does come.
Yeah.
I will acknowledge, like, it feels, when I lost my mom, and I've had a few people that I've lost, but, you know, losing a parent, just to be, no matter what your relationship with that parent is, can feel very weird for me, and, or at least it did for me. And I feel more like, oh, I'm on that side of life now, where it's not infinite, and it's not so much what do I want to do with my life, as much as it is like, I'm doing what I want to do with my life right now, and it doesn't look grand, and it doesn't look spectacular. It's more about accepting that, for me, the fulfilling part of my life is being happy in the everyday micro moments, where, or not even happy, let me rephrase that, content, peaceful, connected.
Yeah, connected.
Not like, how do I find my joy? How do I find, like that, that's that sensation seeking has its place in time, but overarchingly, I've come to kind of embrace, like, just sitting out here doing this with friends.
Yeah, this is where it's at.
This is where my happiness is. And that all I want are more of these opportunities.
Well, not to bring it too much back to where we began, I think it's about making meaning, you know, and leading a meaningful life. And that doesn't mean things happen for a reason kind of meaning, but that means, you know, what can you do with the things that happen in your life to have a meaningful life that, you know, that you feel good about, you know?
I think that's really well said. So, if someone wants to do some force therapy and wants a guide and wants to figure out, like, you know, how do I heal and maybe I need some support, how do people find you?
They can find me, I guess, on social media
Okay.
at Natasha Sizlo or at Wild Grieve,
Okay.
or we can link it in your.
Yeah,
in
they
your-
can reach out to me and
Yeah.
I can connect with you,
Yeah.
connect them with you.
Yeah.
So it's and your Instagram is called Wild Grief.
Wild Grief at Wild Grief,
At
and
Wild
then
Grief.
I have 2 Instagrams, either
Okay.
at Natasha Sizlo or at Wild Grief, specifically for the grief. Yeah.
I am authentic as I possibly can be when I say that I might even start tearing up, but I'm really, really excited for your future because I can see where you're at and what you're doing with it, and I can see how connected to it you are. So I feel very excited for your future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me here tonight by your beautiful fire.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too.